Good day, everyone. My name is Omolara Oladimijo. I'll be taking us through advanced vulnerability and threat management. What is vulnerability? Vulnerability simply means a weakness in a system or application that can be exploited, and when they are exploited, they trigger or cause threats in the source, in the application, or in the system. We have threat landscape. What are the various means or platform whereby threats can occur? We have the credential theft, which has to do with password or password. We have malware that has to do with virus and ransomware. We have phishing. Phishing are emails that we get in our mailboxes that they are pretending to be who they are not, allowing us to release or give out vital information about ourselves to them. We have infrastructure attack that has to do with our systems, our servers, both on-prem and in the cloud. And then we have users which make use of all other threat landscapes on the platform. What causes vulnerability? We have various causes of vulnerability, but we're looking at few. We have connectivity, which means what are you connecting your system to? What is your system being connected to? The hard drive you are connected to your system, are you sure of the security, the protection of that system? Can you vouch that the hard drive is secured enough for your system? You have poor password management. Poor password management has to do with repetition of password, not having the right password combination when setting up our password, making use of password that can be easily thought of or that can be easily guessed. So you have operating system files also. Operating system files has to do with spaces that has been made available by operating system when they were configuring the operating system. So attackers leverage on this space, on these loopholes, and then they add their own codes, which makes the operating system to be vulnerable. With this, can also lead to vulnerability in an organization or in a system or in an application. We have internet usage. The site you are visiting, what are you seeing on the site? What are the pop-ups that you are getting when you click on the pop-up, on the aids on the pop-up that you are getting on your screen? Where is it taking you to? Are you sure that that site is not cannot be vulnerable to your system? So we need to be careful when we're making use or when we are surfing the internet, when we are browsing, making research. We need to be careful to be sure that we're not going to a site that can make our systems to be vulnerable. We have people that make use of all this. People that make use of the internet, they make use of the operating system. They are the one that configure the password. They're the one that connects an hard drive to your system. So we as a person, we play a vital role also when it comes to what causes vulnerability. So we need to be aware, we need to be at alert when we're making use of all this platform, all of these things. What is vulnerability management? Vulnerability management is circular practice whereby you come about with a practice system where you want to identify your threat in your organization or in an application. So you come about with a team and then you decide, okay, what are the steps? What are we going to look at? What are we looking at for us to say we have a very good vulnerability management system in our organizations? So we have various methods of vulnerability detection. We have the vulnerability scanning, we have penetration testing, and we have Google hacking. So with all this, you are able to detect vulnerability when you make use of any of these methods in your organization. We have steps of vulnerability management. What are the first steps? What are the things that you need to look out for when you're coming up with your vulnerability management? Vital information, vital things that you need to come put in place for you to say you have a good vulnerability management practice in your organization or as a team. So we have identifying the vulnerability. For you to say you have a good vulnerability management, you must be able to identify that vulnerability. The software, the solution you are using, will be able to carry out a scan that will be able to identify that types of vulnerability and should understand how vulnerability works. We have analyzing vulnerability also. So you should be able to analyze, break down the vulnerability that has been detected so far. So addressing the vulnerability means that you are able to tackle that vulnerability that was being identified. You have solution, you know what to do with the vulnerability that has been identified so far. And then you have create a reporting system and then a monitoring system for your vulnerability. What is threat management? Threat management is usually used by the cybersecurity professionals. So this is also a life cycle or a practice also, whereby you come together and you decide on how you want to identify threats in your organization, how you want to identify threats in an application. So we have three common threat challenges. We have challenges that we face when it comes to identifying or conquering the threat word. So we have lack of visibility that has to do with you viewing what has been identified so far. So you need a platform where you are able to view, you are able to have visibility to what is happening in the application or in the organization. So we have lack of insight and out of the box thinking, boss reporting also. So we have, when we talk about lack of insight, has to do with going in depth, not just being viewing the vulnerability, viewing the threat alone. You must be able to think beyond that threat, must be able to think ahead of that vulnerability, must be able to see beyond what is physically being displayed to you on your screen, and be able to provide a granular report for such threats or vulnerability that has been identified in the system. We have skill shortage and staff burnout. So for us to say we have a good threat management, you need a dedicated personnel that will be in charge of your threat management. This person is going to, he or she knows that he or his role is for them to hunt for threats and then remediate these threats. They need to be on their system to be able to hunt for these threats, carry out their research on whatever they have found out, and how to remediate, how to conquer these threats in the organization or in the application. So why is threat management important? As we have discussed so far, we have looked at what threat management is and then how they can affect us. So we are going to be looking, okay, why is this important? Why do we need to have a threat management team? Why do we need to have a threat management system? So this helps to lower risks in an organization or in an application, whereby this dedicated personnel is seated on his our system hunting for threats. So at the point of an attack happening, the personnel is able to identify them in real time, is able to see them in real time. So with this, is able it lowers risk, it lowers the level of attack to other systems or other applications in the organization or in the team. So we have continuous improvement. So with a dedicated personnel, you are able to continue to improve what you have in your system, what you have in your organization, because with this, during the process of carrying out research, hunting for threats, you are able to see what and what you need to put in place for you to say, okay, I'm becoming more secure, my application is becoming more secured, our system, our network is becoming more secure by the day. So we have increased security team. So with this, is also, it helps to increase your security team, it helps to give effectiveness to your security team also. So how does it know what a threat looks like? So we'll be looking at the typical attack timeline, how an attack happens. So the first step is the first host compromise. That has to do with research and preparation. This hacker, they go ahead and make research of which organization they want to attack and how they want to be able to gain access into the system or into the organization. So after making their research, they come about and then they compromise the first host in the on the network or in the organization. After doing this, they sit down there for 24 to 48 hours trying to compromise the domain admin. So after conquering the level of compromising the domain administrator, then they launch their attack. When I mean launch the attack, no mean that immediately they release the virus or ransomware into the system. No, they sit down there, they gather informations, they gather data in on the system, and this happen within 140 plus days. So they gather information, gather whatever they need for them to be able to say, we have a hold on this particular user or a particular organization. So after doing this, then they launch the attack by encrypting their systems, and then users and in the organization, they will not be able to access any of the files on the network or on their system, which will lead to system stopping production and them not being able to move further. So what are the best practice for effective threat management? So we have four five options here. We have the insights here, we have visibility, we have detection, we have investigation and response. Insight has to do with being able to see what the threat level or what the threat is in today's global world. What is the threat? What is the scale of threat in the global world, in the global service currently? So they need to be able to understand how threat works, how these threats they come about, how they attack an organization or an application. So we have visibility, you should be able to view into the threat landscape, you should be able to see what is happening both with the users, with credential theft, with malware, with infrastructure attack and phishing. So they should be able to have visibility into all this threat landscape that has been mentioned earlier. We have detection also. So this threat management should be able to detect critical threats in an organization or in a system. They should be able to carry out detection whereby when they carry out a scan, they are able to detect whatsoever thing that has been placed on or that can lead to um threat in the organization. So we have investigation, should be able to carry out investigation, proper investigation of how a particular threat was able to attack the system, was able to launch itself into the application, should be able to carry out full investigation. Then after the investigation, should be able to respond, give a delivery on what has happened so far, give a delivery response to what has happened, give us what we can look at, how this happened and then how to tackle the threats. How has this new threat and vulnerability management changed the game so far? So how it has changed the game is when we look at back then, maybe 2001 or two, back in the days, we know that we have various antivirus solutions that when they are just there just to scan your hard drive or your flash drive, when you connect them to your system, they are not really doing the work of identifying threat per se. They are just there because back then that was what was being understood to be a virus. The level of virus and malware wasn't that much compared to what we have now. So when we say we want this, how this has changed the game, it has changed the game that in the sense that it helps us to discover threats in real time, because you have a dedicated personnel on your system and then they are there hunting for threats. So they are able to identify threats as they are about to happen, as they are about to compromise the system, as they are about to compromise your network. So you have a real time discovery, a real time alert, a real time information on what is happening on your network level, on your application level, your system level and the like. So you are able to see what is going on with your organization when it comes to security level. So you also have intelligence driven prioritization. So what this means is that it's able to prioritize the level of exposure of attack when you on the system or on the security level. So by giving you what you need to look out for first and then going to the lowest weakness. So for instance, we have a weakness level that we have come about with from 10 to 1 or from 10 to 0. So it's able to prioritize, it's able to give you a report starting from the level 10. We have a system that is currently on the level 10 of weakness. So you need to look at that first. So you are able to know where to go to first, what to attend to first before going to the next one. So we have seamless remediation. When we talk about seamless remediation, right from the dashboard, you are able to create a remediation policy. You are able to remediate whatsoever threat or vulnerability that has been identified by the security administrator. So you're able to remediate them, alternate the mitigation, and then receive a real-time remediation status right on your system without running etasketa, running from block B to block C, trying to remediate threats. So this is what Microsoft Defender does. So we have the centralized administration configuration, we have the access discovery and inventory level whereby it scan for all assets in the organization and then carry out an inventory scan on each of the systems to know what each system has on their system on them. So we have the vulnerability and configuration assessment also whereby it carry out a vulnerability scan on each of the systems in your network or in your organization. We have risk-based intelligence prioritization, like I mentioned earlier, being able to prioritize risks based on the level of each of the risks. So we have remediation also, who is able to remediate whatsoever vulnerability, whatsoever threat that has identified so far throughout the process of it scanning through the system. We have APIs and integration also, being able to integrate Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management with other Microsoft tool also. So this is what a typical dashboard of a Microsoft Defender look like. So we have the threat and vulnerability management dashboard. So it gives you exposure score. What level is your organization on the exposure score? So with this, you are able to know, okay, we need to work on where you have this type of score. You go back and say, okay, what are the recommendation for us to be on a exposure score of 80, for us to be on the 100 level? So what are the recommendation? What do we need to look out for? What do we need to configure? So with this, you are able to get recommendations, we're able to get reports regarding what you need to do for you to be on the right level. So we have your score of for device also. So this also gives scores for devices, what application, the operating system, the network, and the likes. So it gives you levels of on each of these categories that has been made by Microsoft Defender on the dashboard. So we have exposure distribution also, which gives you the level where you are on when it comes to distribution. So what does Microsoft Defender do? So what it does is it detects and then it remediates advanced attack on your endpoints. So it also helps to investigate also what you have your system, and then what you need to do, what you can also do for you to be able to say you have a good security um, network. So what are the functionality and capability of Microsoft Defender ATP? We have threat and vulnerability management. We have attack surface reduction. It helps to reduce attack surface. It also helps to do conquer endpoint detection and response also. We have alert, it gives you alert also. It investigates also, carry out investigation. It gives you remediation. You can also configure an automated investigation and remediation on the dashboard, whereby you configure a remediation or investigation that says if any system is on operating system version 1904, you should install an update that takes the system to 20 version 20H2. So something like that, you can configure policies, you can configure remediation tasks on the system, on the dashboard, for you to be able to say, okay, once it comes to this particular aspect of security, we have an automated policy or an automated configuration that has been put in place to conquer or to solve that. And then it does advanced hunting also. It's advanced hunting on your system. So you can integrate Microsoft Defender ATP with some Microsoft solution also. So here I have few of them. We have Azure Advanced Threat Management, Threat Protection. We have Microsoft Cloud App Security. We have the Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, and then we have Intune also. So you can integrate your Microsoft Defender ATP with any or two of these solutions when you have them in your organization. What this does is gives you a granular level or a granular security or more security level for you to protect your users, for you to protect your systems and your endpoints in your organization. Thank you for listening.